Hey everybody, Marisa here with discoverintuition.com and Ask Jesus, Answer 7 Speaks. There's Pablo. I'm going to go ahead and let him introduce today as I kind of shuffle around here for a second. But
hey everybody, welcome to Ask Jesus and his friends, because that's who we end up talking to. Marisa is a clear channel, clairvoyant, and I am not. I'm just a curious guy. And so I was fortunate enough to be able to do this with my daughter, with Marisa. You know, it's not something she planned on having the ability to do, but it is. And you know, I was watching some interviews, and I saw an interview of the West Coast medium. She's from actually Canada, and she said all the terrible things that happened to her before she came to the realization that she had this ability.
is
So
Canada
it's
the
not.
West Coast?
There's a West Coast of Canada.
I
Isn't
picture
that
it
where
being like the North Coast or something like that. But
isn't that where Toronto and
like I've always said, anything above
what's above
Orange County and
Seattle?
below Del
Just
Mar, I don't know.
no, they have West Coast. I don't know. She was just called the West Coast medium, but she's from Canada.
Anyways,
but the life of a channel is not one of a bed of roses, and Marisa can certainly tell you all the terrible things that she had to go through in her life before she came up with this ability. And then you ask, well, wouldn't God give somebody who's just perfect, who's living a perfect life, this ability? And I think, no, that's probably not the way it is, because look at what, God took Moses. Moses was a killer. He was, he was basically adopted by the Pharaoh. And because his mother gave him up thinking that he was going to be killed. And then he became the number 2 man in the Pharaoh's house. And although he was a Jew, but he considered himself a Jew, and then he ended up fighting the military at that time, how they were treating slaves. And then, of course, Moses took them out through the desert and for 40 years. But Moses was not a perfect man. David, who killed Goliath, was not a perfect man. And, he was into wives and taking wives from other husbands and things. Solomon had 300 and some odd wives. And he's considered...
one wife is enough. 365 of them. That man was nagged to death, wasn't he?
If you ever really want a good chuckle...
Death by nagging.
If you want a good chuckle, read Proverbs. Everybody thinks, oh, Proverbs, Psalms, they're
warning against evil women, right?
Proverbs is Solomon warning his sons against women. It's funny. But then let's see. Other than Jesus, God seems to take flawed men to bring the existence of God to the forefront. And I don't know, John the Baptist, he was just a weird dude, living in the country. He probably was. But the point I'm making is, I was reading through the Urantia book. The Urantia book, for those of you who don't know, is a book that's the history of the earth for the last 1,000,000 years. And so, although they don't get into the Anunnaki, although by indirect they do, but without naming them. But it's the last 1,000,000 years, so we don't talk about dinosaurs and things like that. It's all spiritual stuff dealing with the earth. So it's a great book. And for those of you who were listening earlier in the week or last week, I said that as we approach Easter, we would go back into the Urantia book and go back over the crucifixion and then the resurrection. Well, isn't that what Easter is all about? Easter is about the resurrection of Jesus. And but we did the whole thing last year. I did it. It was a 2-hour session on the crucifixion. Then there was a 2-hour on the resurrection. So we're going to go ahead and replay those this weekend, probably starting with today. and hopefully you'll have a chance, if it crosses over your news feed, to go ahead and listen to that, because it's really phenomenal, especially the resurrection and when Jesus comes out of the tomb and meets with Gabriel, and they do the dispensation and free up all the souls who, all the sleeping survivors, as they called them, all the people who died from the time of Adam up to the time of Jesus's resurrection. So all the sleeping survivors were released. But I think from that day on, there aren't any more sleeping survivors. I think Jesus coming has established the fact that we can
That
go
there's
straight to heaven.
frozen survivors.
They're frozen survivors.
They
I
just
don't
said there's
understand.
frozen
Like,
survivors, not sleeping survivors. There's frozen ones that
well,
are
that's
are frozen.
kind of what they were. I mean, they were frozen. Jesus called them sleeping survivors, and Gabriel called them sleeping survivors. And the Jewish texts talk about resurrection, etc., of the dispensation, raising all the people who died in the past. That's why I say, don't burn your body, because if you are going to be raised, you need some bones to be raised. And so I've changed my mind. I don't want to be cremated
That
now.
makes me happy.
Yeah, I don't want to be cremated. I don't want to be turned into dust. I'll
I
let the
can't feel Poochie because we cremated Poochie, and I just can't. I can't feel her. Can't feel her.
I can feel Max. He's buried in our front yard out there,
Oh.
so I always feel Max. And our silly dogs act just like Max. They're so silly. In some way, your dog Lucky is like that a little bit. Um, uh, Poppy and Star, mostly Poppy, will get down. I'll be in a chair, and he'll hop up, and I'm kind of lean back, reclined, and he slowly works his way up, thinking I'm not going to notice that he's
And they smash
bringing
you.
his head right up against mine, and he pushes his face right into my face, but so slowly, like he thinks I'm not going to notice or something. Goofy dogs.
Look
But
who's here.
Max used to do that as well. Who's here? Hey, Glada, how are you?
Hi,
Happy
are we online?
Yeah,
Are we
we're live. We're live.
yeah,
Yeah.
happy Easter to
My
you.
mom's
you.
here.
I'm the
That
one
mu-
that gave birth to this beautiful creature.
yeah, that's Uma. That's Uma, as they say. That's Marissa's
Mom.
mom.
It
That
was
must
funny.
that must be a beautiful drive, driving in from St. George down to Las Vegas.
It's a piece of cake once you get to where there's some construction. And then I love it because everybody's going 35 miles an hour.
Oh,
Just
I'd
okay.
my
fall
That's
speed.
asleep. I'd fall asleep if I
And
so
then
passed.
it
you.
opens up and I'm at the house.
Oh, good. That's
Oh,
great.
jeez.
Okay,
Well,
bye.
it's only an hour and a half away. Bye. Good to
Yeah.
see
Oh
you
my gosh.
again.
Dog
Okay,
alert.
come on. Oh, geez.
We have 4 dogs. Just so if you know, we usually have dogs barking. Papa has your 4. Don't you have 4, Papa? No, you have Star, Poppy, and
No, I used to have 4, but we lost 2. Max died, and then somebody stole Joey. So we've
that's
just
right.
got 2 dogs. Yeah, we've got 2
Okay,
dogs.
well now we've got 4
Oh,
here, so it's yeah. The YouTube roaster would have fun with our dog endeavors today. We ran our videos through an AI roaster. AI can make fun of people. You guys, if you want to try something fun, if you have videos, and you have them in YouTube, take the link from your YouTube videos and put them into Chat GPT. If you go into Chat GPT, you can just click other GPTs if you have the Pro and type in YouTube roast. And it's literally an AI that makes fun of you. It roasts you. And it made so much fun of us. And I laughed so hard because it actually like made sense. I was like, wow, AI has a sense of humor or has learned how to have one or something. It's definitely a lot funnier than me. I can never tell a joke. I can never get jokes, but totally got what the AI was saying. It was funny. Yeah. Anyways, but yeah, no, I experienced Lucky yesterday, and I experienced exactly what you said. He comes and he smushes right up against you, and then gets right in your face. That's what
Yeah,
you were just saying about your dogs.
that's dogs. Dogs are so great. I
Dogs are
feel
awesome.
bad for people that can't live with dogs. I can understand not living with cats. A lot of people are allergic to cat hair, and cats are so snotty anyway.
Yeah.
It's pretty rare to get a cat like yours, Charlie, that'll just come up and jump up on you.
Yeah, it's
Most
a
of
good
them,
dog.
you gotta bribe them to get them
Mhm.
to at least pet them. They go, Anyway, what I was doing, as I said, I'll go ahead and upload. Last year we did the resurrection and the crucifixion, and it's really really good. I would also recommend, for those of you who are really into it, maybe very religious people, go to Google and type in the Book of Nicodemus. The Book of Nicodemus was a Jewish book, but it had been lost and it had been found just recently. It had been hidden for almost 2,000 years. But the Book of Nicodemus has two, among other things, it has two letters. One is a letter from Pilate, the one who condemned Jesus to death, the Roman curator of Jerusalem at that time, or mayor or governor or whatever. Anyway, he writes a letter explaining what happened with Jesus in the crucifixion and sentencing to death, etc. So he had to write a report, a letter to Caesar. And so I would highly recommend you read that, because it is almost word for word. It's almost exactly the way the Bible describes what happened. So Pilate was being absolutely correct to Caesar on what took place. But there's some additional stuff in there too. He has some further thoughts that you don't find in the New Testament. And so it's very, very interesting. And then the other letter is from Caiaphas. Caiaphas was the head Jew. He was the head Jew of Jerusalem. He was the head of the Sanhedrin, and the Sanhedrin was the ruling party of the Jews. And it was Caiaphas, along with Annas, who pretty much convinced everybody that Jesus was guilty and needed to be crucified. And what's really neat about reading that letter is, as he's trying to justify in his letter to Caesar, as he's trying to justify putting Jesus to sleep or putting him to death, as it gets further and further towards the end of his letter, you start getting the maybe I goofed, maybe we shouldn't have done this. It's really, really interesting. So if you're really into the biblical account of the crucifixion and the resurrection, certainly the crucifixion, get the Book of Nicodemus and read those two letters, the one from Caiaphas to Caesar and the one from Pilate to Caesar. It's very interesting. Very, very interesting. Coordinates well with the Bible. But anyway, I was reading because that crucifixion story and the resurrection story comes out of the Urantia book, which is a channeled book. And just like the Quran is a channeled book. And probably the Bible, for the most part, is a channeled book. Our books are channeled books. Yeah, our books are channeled books. The Bible is basically channeled books because it's men writing down their experiences of meeting with the other side, meeting with lords and having dreams and other things. So,
one thing I want to ask real quick, in Nicodemus, the Book of Nicodemus, I just looked it up. At the very beginning, it says, son of Joseph the carpenter, claims to be the son of God. But I thought that Jesus never claimed to be the son of God.
Well, Jesus never called himself Nicodemus either.
Oh. So this is Nicodemus. This is supposedly Nicodemus. Is him?
No, I don't know. I don't know. I haven't read the beginning of that. I have only seen the two letters that came out of the Book of Nicodemus. And what he calls himself, Nicodemus was he was a Jew who wanted to follow Jesus as one of the apostles, but he had too much wealth and too much standing within the Jewish community, so he couldn't do it, and he just wouldn't do it. So Nicodemus was always for Jesus, and but he had his reputation to protect, and so he did not go with Jesus, although he believed in Jesus. So what he says in the beginning about calling himself the Son of God, no, that's crazy. That's a crazy man, because he knew Jesus. But anyway, making my reference to the Urantia book. It's a great book. If you really want to read something that'll just kind of knock your socks off, get your hands on the Urantia book. It's long, but it's very, very interesting. Very, very lots of information in there to mull over. And again, it's channeled, and the entities that are being channeled are anything from midwayers who we have a hard time explaining who they are. They come from a different planet. They're historians. They get sent all around the universe to keep track of history on all the inhabited planets, all the way down to counselors, also scientists. I mean, there's a number of spiritual entities that are channeled by, we assume it was Edgar Casey, but the Urantia Foundation won't say who the channel was, because they don't want the channel to be worshipped and memorialized like Muhammad was. I mean, Muhammad channeled Gabriel, and then, all of a sudden the whole religion surrounds Muhammad. They didn't want that to happen. They just wanted to get truths out and leave it up to people who read the book to make up their own minds. So anyway, one thing I always found interesting, as we've gone over Jesus's life already once, was finding out about personality. Personality. I mean, do you think about personality? Our personalities are our personalities, but do you know that there is not two personalities? There are not two personalities alike in the entire world, just as there are not two thumbprints alike in the whole world. And if you don't think God knows who you are, think about it. He's got every single one of us marked. Every single one of us have a very unique thumbprint, and we have a very unique personality. Even twins don't have the same thumbprint. That's
interesting.
That's very interesting. Yeah. Everybody is marked. Everybody's counted. And besides that, God says he knew us before even he made this earth. So we've been around a long time. We being probably our souls. Our souls have been around a long time. So anyway, I was reading the foreword of the Urantia book, seeing if there's something interesting. And here's a little part on the personality that I'd like to get into. And then if Marisa has anything to add to it, by whatever personality may want to come in. We always enjoy Jesus. We always enjoy Peter. And for those of you who don't know about the Peter statue in Buenos Aires, look it up. Look up the St. Peter statue in the Basilica Square in Buenos Aires, Argentina, and read about the lightning strike. The lightning strike. That it's a statue of Peter. And he's got his hand out like this. He's got a staff. He's holding onto a staff, and he's got his hand out. And at the end of his hand, on his fingers, he's holding the keys to heaven. And this.
Let's stay out of this conversation. It caused issues last time, so we'll just let them read about it.
Yeah, read about it. It happened in December.
The algorithm didn't like it either.
Yeah, it's December 17th. There's a lot in YouTube. You can look it up. It's very, very interesting stuff. Anyway, personality. Everybody's got their own personality. Here's what the Urantia book says. The universal Father is the secret of the reality of personality. The universal Father is the secret of the reality of personality. Secret. So our personality comes from the universal Father. The universal Father is the secret of the reality of personality, the bestowal of personality, and the destiny of personality. The eternal Son is the absolute personality, the secret of spiritual energy. The eternal Son is the secret of spiritual energy. The Father is the secret of personality. But the Son is also the secret of spiritual energy, Morontia spirits, that's what we become when we die, and perfected spirits. The Holy Spirit who they call the conjoint actor. That would be the actor, the third in the Trinity. I mean, here the world keeps arguing. Even Christians argue. Where does it even say in the Bible there's a Trinity? It's not in the Bible. It's not in the Bible. It's taken as God is 3 in 1. He's the Son, He's the Father, and He's the Holy Spirit. But nowhere, you're not going to find it anywhere in the Bible where it says there is a Trinity of God. That's been created by our understanding of God through Christianity. But I hate to say because that's just a mean to think for a second. I was thinking of the Muslims. Muslims, they believe in Jesus. They believe he might be the Son of God, but he's not God. And they don't believe in the Holy Spirit as being a part of God as well. But right here in the Urantia book, he comes right out in the beginning, right in the foreword, indicates that there's 3 in 1. There is the Father, there's the Son, and there's the conjoint actor, which is the Holy Spirit. So the conjoint actor is the spirit mind personality. So the Father is the personality. The Son is the secret of the spiritual energy. And then the Holy Spirit, the conjoint actor, is the spirit mind personality, the source of intelligence. Our intelligence comes from the Holy Spirit. So does reason and the universal mind. But the Isle of Paradise, that's where the Father resides in the middle of the grand universe, is non-personal and extra spiritual, being the essence of the universal body, the source and center of physical matter, and the absolute master pattern of universal material reality. That's the Isle of Paradise. We'll never get there. I mean, maybe the first humans are just now starting to get there, but it's going to be a long time. Eternity is a long time. These qualities of universal reality are manifest in earthly human experience on the following levels.
They said we're all already there in the Isle of Paradise.
We've all gotten there.
We're all already there.
You mean everybody? You mean everybody on Earth is already Christed? Every soul on Earth has already been Christed, and they've come back to do this again.
We start there, and then we come down here, and we just continue to do it over and over and over and over and over. But there's a piece of us that's never left there.
Oh, okay.
So there's a piece of us that we can. That they said that we can ascertain and connect with to bring forth wisdom and knowledge, and that's our spark within us. So the spark within us is directly from that place that you said, the Isle of Paradise.
Isle of Paradise.
Our spark is from, and that spark is a duplicate of the mind of us that's there. And they're showing us kind of like going to sleep when we come down here. We kind of like go to sleep there. Because we don't exist there and here at the same time, but we still have the same mind, and our personality is from there too. So they're saying there's 11 different layers of this Isle of Paradise where you can access it through your heart and through your root chakra, like the planet that you're on. You can access it through your heart, and there's all these different layers of it. The one that you're talking about, what is it, Ancients of Days or something like that? Deities?
The Ancients of Days. There's 7 Ancients of Days, and they're considered the master spirits. They head up, one Ancients of Days heads up each of the 7 super universes, and then together they're the 7 master spirits, or the Ancients of Days, and they're sort of like the Supreme Court of the grand universe. So
the
when
Ancients
there
of
are,
Days, you have to go through them to get to these Isles of Paradise or something like that. So it's like,
yeah, you got to get out of your super universe before you get to the Isle of Paradise. Just like you got to get out of Earth, so to speak, to get up to our next level within our universe. Now, keep in mind, there according to the Rancher book, there's 7 super universes, and each super universe has about 150 universes. 150,000. Wait, there's 600 and some odd 697,000 628, something like 628,000 universes, and those universes are all broken up into 7 universes, and we're just one universe. And it's really funny because I was reading something yesterday that the new telescope, the James Webb telescope, They're seeing things so clearly. They're just bound determined to get to the starting point of our universe. And they think they've almost got there. They almost got there. But what they're finding out is that the universe is not expanding at the same rate. Farther out can be going faster instead of slower, and closer in is going slower rather than faster, picking up speed. The whole universe that we're finding out within our own James Webb telescope is that there doesn't seem to be any uniformity to what we see. We see thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of galaxies, like our own galaxy, and our own galaxy is so huge. You know, how many inhabited planets are just in our galaxy, and then there's as many galaxies as there are sands on the beaches on Earth.
I bet
Grains of
it's
sand.
Fibonacci sequence. I bet that it's expanding with the. You've heard of the Fibonacci
That's
sequence,
that,
right?
like the Fibonacci, isn't that like the flower? How the flowers,
There's the flower of life, and then
the
Steve knows
circular,
so much
it's
about it.
circular.
But yeah, like
Everything
the
is
seashells.
mathematics. Yeah,
Seashells all have
yeah,
the same thing.
they all spin, and that's what our galaxies look like. They're all same thing, spinning. There's arms
Yeah.
within our galaxy, and all the galaxies are like that. So, Lord
Did you know
knows,
that trees go up one arm goes out on
oh
a
yeah,
tree, and then it goes, the one arm splits into two, and the other arm is just one. And then the one that split into two, then one arm splits into two, and one is one. It's like every single tree does that. It's like it's got the trunk, and then it's got one arm, and that one arm splits into to a thing with two arms, and the other one is just one arm. And then those split. I found that really interesting that every single tree, because you figure when you're a kid and you're climbing trees, that's just random, but every single tree is based on a certain like formula or whatever, the way that it grows. Same with seashells, same with beehives, same with like even like snowflakes and sand and all that stuff, like you were just saying. But I bet you anything, the universe, like that they're trying to see out there, I bet you it's all based on that I think it's called the Fibonacci sequence, or there's the actual different.
I recognize that Fibonacci. I think it just all starts with the circulars. If you look inside it, even a rose, it's circular. It's circular, much like our galaxies. Anyway, let me keep going on this.
Yeah.
See what we have. Now, these qualities of universal reality are manifest in earthly human experience on the following levels. First, the body, the material or physical organism of man. The body is the living electrochemical mechanism of animal nature and origin. Number two is the mind, the thinking, perceiving, and feeling mechanism of the human organism. The total conscious and unconscious experience, the intelligence associated with the emotional life, reaching upward through worship and wisdom to the spirit level. That's from the mind. Number three, spirit. Body, mind, spirit. The divine spirit that indwells the mind of man. We all have it. We all have a divine spark living within us. The divine spirit that indwells the mind of man, what the Urantia book calls the thought adjuster. This immortal spirit is pre-personal. Think about it. It's pre-personal. That spark of God that's within you does not have personality. It's just maybe AI from God. Maybe it's AI. It's got our plan. It's got our teachings. Everything is there within the thought adjuster, but it's pre-personal. It's not, doesn't have personality yet.
Pre-personal.
Pre-personal means it doesn't have personality. The spark within you is just that fragment of God that wants to tell us how to go right or left or do this or do that. There is no personality, but you'll learn when you go through Jesus's life more and you go through the Urantia book farther, you find out that when you do die, when you leave this earth, you meld with your soul, your personality, your mind, your body. It dies. You blend in with your soul. and your soul continues the journey. But the soul ends up with a guide, a personality of a guide. And that personality takes on our personality along with the souls, and that spark of God, the thought adjuster, is our personal guide through the Morancha level, and then we become our spirit when we move outside of our universe and into the super universe, and we head on out to become spirit.
So you're saying that our soul merges with us and takes on our personality, and then it becomes our guide.
No, the spirit, the thought adjuster, becomes our guide, becomes separate. There's two. There's your soul, and the spirit that lived within you becomes a person. Think of it as a person who is now knows you intimately and is going to be your guide all the way up, all the way through all the Morancha lives, the 570 lives. And then the spiritual journey. Once you get done with the Morancha, then you have your spiritual journey. I don't know if that includes the soul or not, but we touch on that. On that. Just what I'm reading.
I never resonate with the Morancha thing. I feel like we're done with our Morancha life. I feel like that's over. We finished that a long time ago.
Well, according to the Rancha book, there's 570. We all live 570 more lives if we can make it that far. We can default. We can default. We can turn on God even after we die, and we're moving on up and moving on up. If we get bored and we all of a sudden start questioning God, we can cease to exist. Personality is gone. Joe Morris is gone. No, nothing left. Nothing. Nada. But
they said you cannot destroy, you cannot create nor destroy water. So the soul exists regardless. If you disassociate from it and you go into nothingness, that piece of you that is the soul will still continue to exist regardless. And that's what the whole planetary dispensation thing is, that you were talking about earlier, is that the souls that were sleeping, the souls that were frozen, were brought into a place where they could then continue to move forward rather than be frozen. So the water freezes, or it turns into a cloud, or it turns into water, and it just keeps going. But our soul, the Father is water. The Father / our soul is water. Our spirit's more like electricity. That's interesting.
Okay, this immortal spirit is pre-personal. I said that, not a personality, though it's destined. This is your thought adjuster. Though destined to become a part of the personality, part of your personality, of the surviving mortal creature. So it's, you become your soul, and then your soul then becomes a part of the spirit, but your spirit becomes your guide on through eternity. Number 4. So first is body, mind, spirit. Number 4, soul. The soul of man is an experiential acquirement. Exponential is what politicians use all the time. They say, oh, Donald J. You know who is an exponential threat to the world, which is bogus. But anyway, people use exponential all the time. This is an exponential threat to our existence. Then there is experiential. Experiential isn't exponential yet. It's on its way. It's all the little pieces that make up the exponential. So the soul of man is experiential, which means it's growing with experience, more and more experiences. So the soul of man is an experiential acquirement. As a mortal creature chooses, quote, to do the will of the Father in heaven, unquote, so the indwelling spirit becomes the father. The indwelling spirit becomes the father of a new reality in human experience. The mortal and material mind is the mother of the same emerging reality. The substance of this new reality is neither material nor spiritual. It is moranchal. That's our next step. This is the emerging and immortal soul, which is destined to survive mortal death and begin the paradise ascension. The soul becomes a morontial body. It's what we become when we die. When we go to the other side and we take on a body, we take on this morontial body. And then we have 570 more lives that we have to live. Maybe coming
According
back
to
to
your
Earth is one of them. Maybe right now, our lives right now, maybe I'm in my 333rd morontial life, and my 333rd morontial life has me coming back to experience more here on Earth in the third dimension. We don't know. I
But
don't
this
know.
is based on the soul. They're saying this is based on the
This is
soul.
a
And the
soul.
soul
This is a
has
soul.
many, 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 many creations. So you may be like one of 168,000 creations that your soul has created, and that it's embodying, or not all at the same time. But they're saying there could be 168,000 of those. So very easy to live that many lifetimes in the matter of a period of one lifetime, because you have all these other parallel lives as a soul. So it's not your personality that has to live 570 something lives in this the Morancha thing. The only reason why I believe in the Morancha thing is because I see them as rubber people, and I used to see the rubber people, but the rubber people were like just these like beings that couldn't conduct energy because they were rubber. But yeah, the Morancha thing is interesting to me. It's that's the one thing that I'm kind of like with the Urantia book. I don't get it. And I'd love to ask a million questions about it, but I know we don't need to spend a ton of time on the Morancha body right now. But what the guides are saying is that when you don't understand it, it doesn't mean it's not true. But at the same time, if you question it, it means that there's things that could be added. So they're saying if we want to do a session on the Morancha body so that people can understand, that would mean that reincarnation is real. I mean, I go through my battles with whether reincarnation is real or not. That would mean that reincarnation is real, and we reincarnate on the Morancha level of self, right? So our personality continues to come back, but our personality is what Satan tries to convince us into staying in, so that we can continue to come back as that same personality. So that then makes me think that maybe that's a layer of consciousness that we don't want to be in, but at the same time, of course, we're always going to be our personality, or we're always going to be us. I mean, I channeled about it yesterday. They said, you are you. You'll always be you. You'll never not be you. You're always going to be you, regardless of anything. So yeah, it's just my brain goes around in circles about that. Jesus says, if you could just understand that your life right now, maybe you may be on the 50 or 60th time of living the same lifetime. You may be on the 500th time of living the same exact life, maybe as each other. Joe, you could be Marissa, Marissa could be you. It's the same lifetime over and over and over, with different variations where your consciousness goes into the different layers and the different people that are in this lifetime with you. So people will quite literally get to live life as you and see what it was like to be you and see what it was like to deal with them. And that's just how it works. That's how it works with soulmate energies, is they go back and they go through lives as each other, not just in your review. Many people will know the review to do this, where you go to your review, you get to see how awful you were to your family members, or how awful they were to you, or you get to see how good they were to you, but you thought they were horrible, by actually living life as them in this virtual review world that you go through. But at the same time, this lifetime, just as we have said, this could very well be, and we won't go into what lifetime you guys are on, but this could very well be the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, or seventh time that each of you have gone through this lifetime, just to see what it's like to live other people's realities. But this is not from the soul level. This is from the God consciousness level. So the God consciousness that we are like 12, like how Bill was 12, we all have our little God consciousness. Those little consciousnesses, which are midwayers, those are midwayers. The numbered ones are midwayers.
I don't know.
They
I
are.
just know midwayers are.
They remember everything.
I don't think they have personality. I think they're just.
We don't have personality at that level. We're just a GoPro video
They
camera
just write.
recording.
Yeah, they're a camera. They're a camera, and they're recording it. But they also have the ability to become physical,
because they can drop into a physical being, and then that physical being they become that being. So whatever they go into, they become. So they're just this camera, and they can go into, if they come into me, then they're going to be me. If they go into you, they're going to be you. If they go into mama, they're mama. And so they go into, and they witness life through all the different people, and that sends back all the information to God, because God ultimately is the one that is up there watching all the cameras. So they're like little drones.
Oh, the midway. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, I guess I could look at it that way. Okay, so according to your answer book, our human self is one body, mind, spirit, soul. Now, number 5, personality. The personality of mortal man is neither body, mind, nor spirit, neither is it the soul. Personality is the one changeless, never changing. Personality is the one changeless reality in an otherwise ever changing creature experience, and it unifies all other associated factors of individuality. The personality is the unique bestowal which the Universal Father makes upon the living and associated energies of matter, mind, and spirit, and which survives with the survival of the Morancha soul. So our personality is our personality, and we can't do anything about it. Our personality is our personality, and it's going to stay that way. That's why probably if we got rotten personality, we're never going to make it all the way, because something else is going to happen. But then that's number 5. Personality is number 5. So body, mind, spirit, soul, personality, and then 6. There's 7. Number 6 is the Morancha. Morancha. Morancha is a term designating a vast level intervening between the material and the spiritual. What we will call the material is earth, living this life. Material. So Morancha is a term designating a vast level intervening between the material and the spiritual. It may designate personal or impersonal realities, living or non-living energies. The warp of Morancha is spiritual. Its woof is physical. I tried to explain this before. The warp of Morancha is spiritual. The woof is physical. Now, the warp. Think of weaving a blanket. You have all these strands, all the strands you're weaving. Your strands is the warp. That's the warp. Is a spiritual, and then that piece that you wind through the loom is the physical. Is the physical. So the warp and the woof is the coming together of our spiritual sense and our physical sense. I don't know how it's, but we lose. Jesus did not look the same when he came back and resurrected and went back to all the apostles or whatever. He did not look the same. He had a Morancha body, but they recognized him because of his voice and his personality. That's how they. Plus, when some guy walks through a wall and comes to, when the 12 apostles are sitting around with their heads bent and just so upset and depressed and everything about losing their best friend to the cross, and then all of a sudden something walks through the wall and comes and says, calm down. Yeah, whether it looked like Jesus or not, you're going to believe that it's something very special, and that's for sure. So Jesus had a Morancha body, but it didn't look like his. So we're not going to look the same. We're not going to look the same. We're going to go through different, you may be a beauty pageant queen in this life. Well, you may want to experience in another Morancha life, you may want to experience being, a homeless, toothless,
Non-beauty queen.
non-beauty queen. That's a good way to put it. Non-beauty queen. And then your soul's going to experience that. So this whole game, it's just, God, it's such a big game. And then I can get into energies and patterns. I was wrong. There was only 6 levels. I thought there were 7 levels to the body, to the human.
There should be. Did they say the spirit? They said the spirit, the soul, I wrote them down. But
body, mind, spirit, soul, personality, Morancha.
And God.
And God makes up the 7?
Yeah, God.
Okay, God. Well, God is the spirit. So I think we're
it's
covered
sort
by
of
God.
the spirit. The spirit's they're calling it like what's a derivative? A derivative of the.
Is a piece of. Yeah.
Okay, so the
A
spirit
derivative is a part of the whole.
well, no, but the God is a derivative of spirit. So spirit is the everything.
Yeah.
And then God comes from that. God's the mind. But it's also, but then we have the body and the mind here, but there's the mind, and then there's the God mind. So they're saying that there's, we can have our body, and then we have like the God body, the mind, the God mind. It's like we've got a self that doesn't even enter into here, that's fully intact, that's somewhere else. And it's us. And here we are clueless, but we're that. But here we can pollute the body, we can make the body sick, we can, poison it, we can kill it. Over there, we can't. So what they're saying is that God, our God essence, or the totality of that which we are, like our whole real authentic true self, is a 7-part being that is includes God and spirit, but it's technically 5 pieces, and it's not the Morancha. So minus the Morancha, the other 5 things, and then there's the spirit, like the Holy Spirit, and then there's the like creator God, and that's I guess that's 6. That's 6. Because the Morancha, that's the placeholder body is what they're calling it. It's like a placeholder body, and it's where we go into when we're not expanding. That's what they're calling it. Like when we can't.
It goes on. I flipped forward a little bit, but now I'm in a part where it's going to describe the mind again.
Ooh, cool.
Think about the mind. The mind does it completely shut
Not
down?
our brain,
You lose
but
everything.
our mind is totally different.
Yeah, I don't know the difference, but anyway, mind is a phenomenon connoting the presence activity of living ministry, in addition to varied energy systems. And this is true on all levels of intelligence. In personality, mind ever intervenes between spirit and matter. Therefore, is the universe illuminated by 3 kinds of light: material light, intellectual insight, and spirit luminosity. Then it goes on to describe light. Light, spirit luminosity. Light is spirit luminosity, is a word symbol, a figure of speech which connotes the personality manifestation characteristic of spirit beings of diverse orders. Spirit beings of diverse orders, different universes, different bodies, diverse orders. This
Would you say
luminous
light luminosities or spirit luminosities? Would you just call it?
light is spirit luminosity. So the light that we see is actually spirit illuminated. It's a word symbol, a figure of speech, which connotes the personality manifestation characteristic of spirit beings of diverse orders. This luminous emanation is in no respect related either to intellectual insight or to physical light manifestations. Have no idea what they're talking about there.
Wait, read that again. I actually got that. So that's has nothing to do with how much you know and how much. Okay, what they say the last sentence.
This luminous emanation is in no respect related either to intellectual insight or to physical light manifestations. So what is it? It's
Doesn't matter how smart you are. Doesn't matter what you are physically.
It's completely separate.
Separate from, yeah, and it's going to be what it's going to be, no matter what. No matter how dumb or lame or whatever you are, or smart or brilliant you are, it's the spirit is going to illuminate no matter what, because it comes from the light.
This is so. I remember reading this foreword, and I almost didn't read the book because it was so difficult to understand, just going into it cold, what they're talking about. But it's a very interesting book. If you do get your hands on the Arancha book, highly recommending just kind of just jumping over to chapter 1, because you could get lost in the foreword and you'll put the book down. You'll never pick it back up again. We're talking about patterns and things. The supreme being. I mean, God, deity is actually 7 different forms of deity. Ultimate, supreme. I can't remember all 7 of them. But God's a very, what's the term I'm looking for? God is not just the Father. He's there's like 7 different aspects of him separate from the Son and the Holy Spirit. And I could go back up and they wouldn't make a whole lot of sense to you. But it says deity is therefore dual in presence. It's existential, beings of eternal existence, past, present, and future. Existential threat, existential is existing, but experiential. And those are beings actualizing, changing in the post heaven, Havona, present, but of unending existence throughout all future eternity. Experiential means the end. It's come to an end. Everything is as it is. Experiential means we're constantly changing, constantly learning, constantly growing.
Which is what they were just saying about us having a dual presence. Like we have in us that is completely together, completely us, that's expanding and growing. And then there's an us that comes down with like a duplicate of that self. And then in between that and that up there is that Morancha body thing where you go into. It's more of like an elemental body, but but this body down here gets destroyed and hurt, and that's the soul. So the soul gets like destroyed and hurt, and you have to heal it and bring it back into you and then take it back with you and cross it over. But that us that's up there, that dual existence that we have, that us up there has never been hurt, never been sad, never been mad, never been upset. It doesn't even understand what it feels like to not get its way. It's just whatever it wants, it gets. Down here, it's like it doesn't get that. So it's that we're getting both experiences. We're getting both sides of it because we're very bored by the fact that we get whatever we want there, and then we come here and it's like I don't get anything that I want. But we're kind of getting this dual experience, and like you're saying, it's the what did they say?
Existential, which is existential is. Experiential is growing. It isn't is yet. It's going to grow and grow and grow and grow and grow and grow and grow. Experiential. We're experiential beings. We're not exponential. We're not finished. I'm wondering how that relates also to calling on our higher self. Let me ask, is our higher self in the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th? I think that's as far as we go in dimensions for the Morancha. I mean, is the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th dimensions of me, like when I call out to Adam, my Adam, which is a higher self, is he in a Morancha bottle? Am I living
Adam
in a
is.
Morancha body? Adam is. So until you get
Adam
out
is
of the 8th dimension, when you leave the 8th dimension, you start dealing in the spiritual.
okay. So this is it. Adam is the fallen version of you that's fallen down into this reality. So the one that falls into a Morancha body, and that's why it has to live so many lives to get out of that fallen state. So it's the us that fell for it. It's the us that fell for this reality that went, oh, eat this fruit salad, Eve, and that's the us. So Adam is technically the one that's trying to get out of this reality, and everybody has an Adam. Everybody has a self that has fallen down into this reality, and they're saying like atom, like ATOM, and also Adam, and Adam means man, and so what they're saying is that there's pieces of us that are inside of that Morancha body. Yes, that Adam is in that. You don't have any other selves that are in that. I kind of see Jesus in it a little bit. But if I ask about Yeshua, I see Yeshua completely outside of everything, just as a big beam of light. So I think that what they're saying is the things that are the Morancha bodies are the ones that are the creations of that which is the creator selves while in this reality. When we create a self to fall into, that's when we create the Morancha bodies. So we can have several of them at the same time. Like they said, imagine Adam and Eve at the garden, and they decide they're going to eat this fruit. That creates a separate reality for them where they fall into a pond, so to speak. That pond is then the reality that they live in, and they're in this rubber body that can sustain inside of this water. So that's where we break off. But there's still of them that didn't eat the fruit too. So it's kind of like string theory, and it's kind of like quantum physics. And in essence, there's so many different realities happening at the same time. But back to the point that that this is what I was saying earlier, that they're saying that the channel is speaking of earlier, is that we can have several lives in the Moranch body happening at the exact same time. And if we want to bump up our spiritual ascension, all we must do is ask that all of the Morancha bodies that our soul has access to, or that our soul has created out of either fear or out of a split in our reality, in duality, ask that all of our experiences that we have had, that they be infused with the light of Christ, and that we ask for forgiveness. We ask for forgiveness. We ask that those Moranch bodies ask for forgiveness as well from Christ, and then they'll just all merge together. It's like we're almost in here trying to get all of our little Morancha bodies and gather them all up so that we can go home. But they're all just like breaking off, and we make a stupid decision and we have another one. We make another stupid decision and we have another one. So it's that's interesting. So you could say, I asked Adam, the self that is Adam, to ask Christ for forgiveness and gather up all the pieces of himself where he didn't make a good decision. And I see all these like pieces of you going back to him. That's interesting. So everybody has an Adam. They're saying not everybody has Adam. Everybody has a different being, but it's like an Adam.
At the different layers, at the different dimensions.
Yeah.
Third,
they're saying
fourth,
some people
fifth,
have an
sixth,
Eve.
seventh,
Some
eighth.
people have an Adam and some people have an Eve. So
Okay.
they're saying everybody that has an Adam and Eve, because we're all created by Adam and Eve. So we're all created half by the devil, half by God. It's like we're half bad, half good, basically. And our human bodies are the flesh, and then there's the spirit that we are. So we're the spirit, and then we're also the flesh. And many people have lots of fun in the flesh. They enjoy the flesh. It doesn't make the flesh evil. It just makes it the flesh that dies. The flesh doesn't live forever. The spirit lives forever. The flesh has painful birth. The spirit thinks up an immaculate conception, and boom, there's a soul sitting there in their arms at 3 years old, looking up, talking to them. So it's the spirit makes children much different than the flesh makes children. And this is what God had said to Eve, that you'll have a painful childbirth. And this is where all man was created by. All man, not all man. There's 3 tribes of men on the planet right now. There's the ones that came from Seth. There's the ones that came from Abraham. There's the ones that came from Adam and Eve. There's completely other tribe of human beings entering into the planet that have been on the planet for quite some time, since about the early 60s into the 70s, is other planetary beings that have come in to incarnate on this planet. Very much so in the 60s and 70s is when they started to enter into this planet. They brought all the hippies. Well, no, if they were born in the 60s and 70s, they weren't baby boomers, were they? Those are Holly's age people.
No, 60s and 70s is when the baby boomers were growing up.
Okay.
I mean, they're saying that
they just came and embodied people. They just came in and lived within people. So there's all the different lines of human beings, but most human beings were created by them, and then a lot of beings are ruled by the tribe of Abel. Didn't Abel die?
Yes, Cain.
Did he have kids though?
No, Abel didn't have any kids.
They're calling it the tribe of Abel. I wonder what that means.
Biblically, we don't have Abel having any kids.
Abel watched over the underworld. That's where he went to. So he died in the garden. He died, and he went into like a world where it was a bunch of, where all the souls that kind of get trapped in between, he kind of watches over those. And the ones that are trapped in between are the ones that just keep coming back and living the same life over and over and over and over and over. So there's kind of like people that are ruled under that energy. But they're saying, not to get so confusing, but we were already confused to begin with. They said, just look at it this way. You come from a very, very long line of very bad people. Every single one of you, no matter how good you want to think you are, everyone has come from a very long line of very bad people. But you have something that is very, very good inside of you. You have something that is so good that it forgives everything that all those bad people have done. I mean, from infidelity to bastard children to raping and beating people and killing and murdering and all of these horrible things that are throughout the Bible. These are horrible, horrible stories. Some of them, you think about doing some of these acts that these people do, and it makes you cringe inside. but remembering that the peace inside of you that is spirit is so good that it allows you to dwell within that, feel that light, and know that everything's going to be okay. That even though you're in this scary, weird place right now, you can actually make this scary, weird place a beautiful place to live in. And that's the key here. That's the key to all of this, to understanding the resurrection, understanding all this, is that there is a way out of here. And that way out of here is that 3-day period whereby when you die, you then enter into a world, Abel's world, and then you are able to make your way out of that world and into the heavenly realms, whereby you're given the ability to come back here, console your family, make your family feel better. You get 45 days to wrap things up after you end your life here. But understanding that if you don't understand that you're light inside, you'll get trapped in that Morancha body in those 3 days, and you'll just get kind of trapped there until you can figure out that you died, one, or that you're light, or that there is some hope for you. Otherwise, you just think you die, so you die. There's a lot of people that think when they die, they just die, and then they just do, because their personality just kind of sits in a solid state for a while until an angel comes and wakes them up. Then the angels come and go like, "Hey, buddy, wake up! Hey, idiot, you died. Come on, let's go." they like move you
Interesting.
along.
Well, I hate to say it because we could never seem to wrap up and come to a conclusion at the end of an hour, but we need to wrap it up. I guess I can just summarize in saying that we all have a personality, and the personality comes from God, and God looks at us as a body, as mind, as spirit, soul, personality, and then another layer that we don't know anything about, and we won't know until we die. And then we call that a Morancha existence. So anyway, we all have this personality.
Jesus wants to say one thing. He wants to say, if you want to know your personality that is given to you by God, if you want to know that your inner self, ask to know that inner self, because that inner self is not the one that's out looking for a career, that's looking for your soul's path or your soulmate. It's not a being in essence. It's an essence of what you are, who you are, why you are, where you are, but it stays with you because it is you. So you can ask to become the you that you will always be, and that's your personality. But you have to ask to have that personality along with the light that shines light on that personality, because when that personality is left in the dark, that personality becomes your ego. And then your ego is filled with fear. And this is what makes you do very, very bad things. So ask that you be given some insight into seeing, feeling, knowing, and understanding your personality in the context that we spoke of it today. Ask that it be infused with light, the light of Christ, and ask that with the power of the Holy Spirit, you be given the ability to be your personality today. And you will actually feel like a different person, and you'll feel good. You'll feel authentic. You won't feel like you're trying to be something for other people. You'll actually feel like you're you, and you'll feel comfortable in your own skin. We suggest this. Comment on it in the comment section if you have questions about this, because we really, really want for you to do this. Ask to become your core personality infused with the light, with the power of the Holy Spirit. Ask to feel this and know this and be this today. We bless you. And they're done.
Well, I hope somebody does that and
I'm
feels
going to do it.
something different. So
Somebody
anyway,
asked what happens to personality to the suicide people. They go into the Morancha world. Somebody
Who?
asked what happens to people that commit suicide, and
Oh
I
yeah,
just heard they go into the Morancha.
I think it's purgatory, and I think
That's
Morancha
Morancha
is
world.
more than purgatory. Anyway, you may have
Yeah.
to take a little bit
We'll
out
talk
of
about it
this to
tomorrow.
get it in.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
anyway, have a good Thursday, Marissa.
Okay.
And
Go hang out with Mama.
yeah, say hi to Mama. And if all things are good, we're back here again tomorrow.
We'll be here tomorrow. Okay. Love you, Papa. Bye,
Bye.
everyone. See you
Bye,
later.
everybody.
Okay,
Bye bye.